bored summer, I met a funny girlfriend online. She told me that her family had some money. I said it's definitely not as good as my house. She said she was a princess of the upper world. I said I was still the crown prince of the upper world. She asked who my father was. I thought for a moment and then casually said the name of a top business tycoon, Charles Reed. Anyway, it's just bragging, so why not brag loudly? The other side of the chat frame was silent for a long time. If your father is Charles Reed, then who is my father? The corner of my mouth twitched. Are you mentally ill? Who is your father? How do I know? This morning, on the subway to work, I was bored and took out my phone to text my online lover, "Go to work yet? Have you had breakfast yet? What to eat?" She replied, "Still on the helicopter, arriving in a while." This morning I ate smoked fish salad, scones and black tea. What about you? I answered, I eat Angus beef shipped by air from Australia, but the taste is not very good. I usually like to chase it and nibble on it, but when the first rays of sunlight of the day hit it. She replied, "Haha, you are so funny." I replied again, "A little bit worse than you, it's funny." Chatting without a drafting board gets crowded on the subway. I was a little breathless, holding onto the handrail with one hand, texting her with the other hand. "Hey, what line are you on?" "What do you mean?" I asked. "What line number are you on?" Is this question difficult to understand? Yeah, airline route? Well, let's pretend I didn't ask. Sometimes communicating with her is difficult, like not understanding human language. But it's okay, I will forgive her because of her beauty. Working overtime that night, coming home at nearly 11 o'clock, I finally made a video call to Isabella Reed. On the screen appeared an extremely attractive face, her eyebrows and eyes were cold but delicate. Under the left eye there is a beautiful tear mole. When she looked at me in the video, her eyes were slightly lowered. In the blurry pixels, I can still see her long eyelashes. As soon as the video call was connected, her voice rang out, "Baby, Vogan, why are you home so late today? I miss you so much." A somewhat resentful voice rang out from the opposite side. Looking at the face in the video, I still can't imagine that such a cold face could make such a strange sound. Isabella Reed is back to normal. I coldly said, "I'm very normal, I just miss you." "Baby, if you keep saying that, I will turn off the video." I rubbed the goosebumps on my body. Okay. She quickly apologized, "Sorry, what's the point?" I glanced at her. The next second I lifted my chin towards her, looking at these shark abs. I jumped into the company that I've been dreaming of for a long time. This is a subsidiary of Luti Group. At first I didn't have much hope, I didn't expect to actually be accepted into this company. So, the moment I received the offer, I was extremely excited and immediately texted Isabella Reed, "Isabella Reed, I actually got the offer. I'm about to join a company that I never dreamed of. It is the honor of this company to receive Vogan's favor. Want to celebrate? Or should I come find you?" No need, Isabella Reed always finds opportunities to meet me in real life, but I feel like the current online love situation is very good. So every time I flatly refused. She sent another angry emoji. "Oh, it's really fun, I have to let my dad buy a yacht to celebrate." I was just going to joke, but Isabella Reed suddenly asked, "Who is your father?" I thought for a moment and then casually said the name of a top business tycoon, Charles Reed. Anyway, it's just bragging, so why not brag loudly? The other side of the chat frame was silent for a long time. So who is my father? The corner of my mouth twitched. Are you mentally ill? Who is your father? How do I know? Then I saw her say, "My dad is also Charles Reed." I laughed out loud. It turned out he was imitating me. "Okay, we're both named Lou." So, I smiled and said, "Okay, then let our dad buy a yacht to celebrate." The other party did not answer and remained silent for a long time. I didn't pay attention. Maybe she was busy somewhere I couldn't see. Isabella Reed walked quickly into Charles Reed's office, looked at Charles Reed with stern eyes. "Dad, do you still have another son out there?" Charles Reed was drinking water, choked, coughed for a while before regaining composure. "Yin Yin, what are you talking about? I only have you as a daughter." "Ethan Carter, did you know?" Isabella Reed's eyes were still full of doubt. "No, that's not true, Yin Yin. Where did you hear the rumors?" "Father Charles Reed swears to God that he has absolutely never done anything wrong to your mother. Even if the sky falls, I will only have you as my child." Charles Reed frowned, feeling something was wrong. "Who is that Ethan Carter that C mentioned?" Isabella Reed turned and walked out the door. "Your boyfriend walked out of Charles Reed's office." Isabella Reed breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it's not real." Almost lovers became brothers. I officially started working at Lou Gia's subsidiary. A long-time dream has come true. It's so refreshing. Remembering a few days ago, I joked with Isabella Reed, "My dad is Charles Reed." If that's true, how good would that be? I will truly become the crown prince of the upper world. I was sitting at the company daydreaming when I suddenly saw Isabella Reed send a text message, "How's the new job?" I replied, "Very good, quite good." "That's good, we've been together for almost half a year now. When will we meet?" "Oh, just recently joined a new company. I'm very busy, let's leave it later." Apparently they live in the same city, have been in love with each other online for half a year but haven't met in person. Isabella Reed is really a little impatient, but without seeing her, I feel very comfortable. Who knew, after officially falling in love, they wouldn't be so happy? After I once again rejected Lou like Yen, she sat in the office, looking sad, constantly thinking about what she did wrong. The assistant walked by and accidentally dropped a piece of paper from the file in his hand. Lou like Yen picked up the fallen paper and saw a familiar name and photo on the paper. A flash of surprise flashed in her eyes, which she couldn't hide. "Ah, sorry, Director Lou." Lou like Yen raised her head to look at her assistant. "Is he Lou Vo Nuoi?" "He seems to be a new employee of Hang T's room." I was secretly playing a game when I suddenly heard a commotion. The colleague next to him quickly turned off the game. Mine detector elbowed me, "Hurry up, stop playing, Director Lou is here." "Director Lou is coming?" I was startled and quickly turned off the phone. The colleague at the next desk pretended to be busy and said in a low voice, "Who else, Director Lou like Yen? Our room has always been quiet. Why did Director Lou suddenly come to check?" I didn't understand anything either, so I could only pretend to be busy. A figure of a highly educated person appeared in my sight. I typed randomly on the keyboard and then secretly looked up. "I want to see what this high-class princess looks like." I was surprised when I looked up again. "Isn't that right? Why is it so familiar? Willow like Yen? I didn't see it wrong. I thought you were playing with me, but it turns out you're really a rich lady." I was completely dumbfounded, seeing her eyes about to sweep towards me. I immediately crawled under the desk like a mollusk. It's really embarrassing. Mike sat at the desk next to me, stunned by my strange actions. I saw his eyes widen more and more, then I hid under the table, signaling him to be quiet. Mike. Although a bit confused, still very professional. He has a stomach ache and has to go to the bathroom. I hid under the table, nodding vigorously. Mike, you are truly my good brother. Just when I thought I had escaped, the department head walked in. He surprisingly greeted Lou as Yen and then strode forward, passing me. He stopped and looked down at me. Are you new here? What are you doing hiding under the table? I was dumbfounded when I heard the department head say that. Everyone's eyes turned to me. I knew I couldn't hide anymore. I had to crawl out from under the table. Aha, the phone fell, I'll pick it up. I shook the phone in my hand, not daring to raise my head to look at Lou like Yen. I was afraid that Lou like Yen would look at me one more time or say one more sentence, but she seemed to understand what I meant and didn't say anything more. She just asked about everyone's work progress and then turned to leave. Seeing her finally leave, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Me too. As he left, Mike quickly approached me, his face filled with excitement. Lou Vogan, what's going on? Speak quickly, it's nothing, I spat. I just helped you hide it, but you didn't tell me. Oh, it's just. My expression was a bit unsightly. I said in a low voice, I talked to her online. I said my father was Charles Reed. She said her father was also Charles Reed. I thought she was joking with me, but who knew her father was actually Charles Reed? Looking at Mike, he laughed without a sound, almost laughing until his whole face was distorted. I got angrier. Now I'm completely lost. I can see my round red nose. Now he's become a clown. My phone suddenly vibrated continuously. I glanced out of the corner of my eye and saw Liu's name like Yen. I kind of want to block and delete, but now that I work here, I definitely can't avoid her. If I were to give up this hard-earned job, I wouldn't be able to bear it. I gritted my teeth and opened the phone. I'm speechless, you're so handsome. You're 100 times more handsome than in the video. Can you give me a chance to have dinner together tonight? Please. The corner of my mouth twitched. I raised my head and looked around the office. These people were seriously working just now. Are they really the same people chatting with me? But the shock that her identity brought was too strong. I don't know how to face her. So I said, I'm not free tonight, I have to work overtime. It's okay, there's no need to work overtime, you can just do it slowly. Or I can help you do it. Only then did I react. Now, my direct boss is Liu and Yen. Saying overtime doesn't work anymore. It seemed inevitable, so I had to agree. Okay then. Liu like Yen, do you know why I don't want to see you? As soon as we met in the underground parking lot, I took the initiative to speak first. Liu and Yen are happy because they can finally have dinner with me. Hearing me say that, her heart immediately cooled down. Why? Did I do something to make you angry? She asked carefully. Looking at her worried expression, I coldly said, I thought you were pretending to be rich, but I didn't expect you to actually be rich. Then I was wrong, young lady. I glanced at her, have you booked a restaurant for tonight? Okay, it's a French restaurant. As she spoke, she was about to show me the reservation information, but I directly interrupted, don't go. I'll fasten my seatbelt and go eat grilled skewers along the road. Therefore, the high-class princess wearing a high-class dress was dragged by me to sit at roadside shop. Probably because Yen Yen is so beautiful and elegantly dressed, when she sits at a roadside restaurant, everyone passing by looks at her. Luckily she always seemed unconcerned. I told her, Liu like Yen, if you want to fall in love with me, then you have to try to experience my life. If you don't have money, you also have to have the temperament of someone who doesn't have money. She nodded seriously. I placed the skewer in front of her. You've eaten a lot of foie gras and caviar. Try gluten skewers. If you don't like it, there's also synthetic pork, synthetic beef, fake duck meat, and lamb. Don't worry, eat it. Having said that, I arranged breakfast again for tomorrow. Stop eating your nutritious breakfast. Once you eat it, you won't become a fairy. Come eat fried soy milk with me. She agreed easily again. I looked at her, just letting me bully her, and couldn't help but feel funny. I asked her. Princess Gioi upper class, I really don't understand what you like about me. Lu Nuyen was stunned by my sudden sarcastic statement. She was thinking about how to answer when a red sports car suddenly stopped next to us. I turned my head in surprise and saw the car door open. A man so handsome that it left me speechless got out of the car. My first reaction was that he was probably a stellar IO, but I quickly dismissed this speculation. He has a steadfast temperament. With just a few simple actions, one can realize that his family background is not ordinary. At that moment, a strong sense of danger flashed in my heart. I turned my head to look at Lu and Yen. Sure enough, they knew each other. Am I not mistaken? Lu, like Yen, was eating at a roadside restaurant. His deep eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at Lu, like Yen, with disbelief. What's up? Lu and Yen's voice was especially cold. The man raised his eyebrows slightly and said, Are you still using this tone when talking to me? Is it because of him? Having finished speaking, he turned his eyes to me. Being stared at by him, I instinctively became nervous. Lu Yen's expression became serious. She said, Adrian Scott, you don't have to say such deliberately misleading words. The tone when I talk to you is always the same. A flash of hurt flashed across Adrian Scott's handsome face, then quickly returned to normal. He defends himself like that, your little boyfriend? He glanced at me. Dating in a place like this, I don't know if you did it on purpose or were you stupid. His intense hostility and sharp words made all the sympathy I had for him disappear as soon as I saw him. I kept my voice calm and straightened my back as I replied. It doesn't seem like I need an outsider like you to comment on where I go on a date with my girlfriend. As for where you want to go on a date, you should discuss it with your girlfriend, boy. Are you making fun of me? An aggressive smile appeared on his face. If you're flattered that you're waiting to become her boyfriend, then I still want to remind you one thing. Don't be complacent too soon. The story of a poor boy marrying into a rich family only happens in fairy tales. Adrian Scott. Lu Nuyen stood up, her voice carrying clear anger. Stop playing around. Ethan Carter is my boyfriend, please pay attention to what you say. I also don't want to say harsh things. Adrian Scott gritted his teeth. He stared at Lu like Yen for a moment, then the corner of his mouth curled up in a contemptuous smile. Okay, if you want me to witness your lover's pleasure, then continue protecting him. Having finished speaking, he turned around and drove away. Adrian Scott. I remember this name well, but I didn't expect to meet him so quickly. I met him at the company. Mike, the person with the fastest news, told me that this morning Director Lu was also at the company. Adrian Scott came out of her office. What is the relationship between Adrian Scott and Director Lu? I asked Mike. Because he didn't know the relationship between me and Lu like Yen, he didn't hesitate to tell me about it. You don't know? Oh yeah, you're new here, it's normal not to know. Let me tell you, Adrian Scott. He talks a lot. The more I listened, the more silent I became, the more depressed I became. The so-called childhood in the novel are just like that. Lu Nuyen is 2 years older than Adrian Scott. The two almost grew up together, their homes were very close. The relationship between the two families is very good, they often interact with each other. The two families have been partners since previous generations, and are considered opposing families. Later, when studying abroad, Lou, Yen and Adrian Scott all went together. Even though they don't go to the same school, they're in the same country. Almost everyone knows Adrian Scott's feelings for Lou and Yen. Adrian Scott is also very generous, without hiding it. Although Lou and Yen's attitude towards Adrian Scott was somewhat cold, everyone assumed they would get married. After all, who else is more suitable for each other than them? Surely there will be no one more suitable than them. Even Mike said so. Hey, speechless, what's wrong with you? He talked for a long time, finally realizing. My eyes are red. It's okay, I rubbed my eyes and casually made up a story. I also had a very close girlfriend before, but then we broke up. Oh, is that so? It's okay, the old one won't leave, the new one won't come. The next one will be better. Mike comforted me, patting my back. Yeah, that's right, I laughed. All afternoon, I did not respond to Liu's messages like Yen. She clearly left at noon, and ran to the company in the afternoon. When Liu like Yen suddenly visited our department, Mike was startled. Why does she keep coming to our room lately? Nothing's going on. Liu like Yen said a few words to the department head. The department head walked up to me and said to me, Director Liu has a few things he wants to learn about this project. It's your responsibility, follow me. I smiled faintly at the department head and then walked out the door, towards Liu like Yen. I followed Liu like Yen into an empty room. As soon as the door closed, the calmness on her face was like a broken mask. She quickly grabbed my shoulder and looked worriedly into my eyes. Did Adrian Scott come to you and say anything? No, I calmly shook my head. I just heard about your past with Adrian Scott. Liu's face like Yen's panic could not be hidden. She raised her head, looked into my eyes, and said earnestly, Nonsense, can you listen to my explanation? Adrian Scott and I are not as close as you think. There was nothing memorable about the few years I studied abroad with him, absolutely nothing beyond the limits of normal friends. My background, my parents' arrangements, are not something I can choose. But you are definitely my wholehearted choice. After she finished speaking, I quietly reached out and gently touched her cheek. Isabella Reed, I don't have to doubt your feelings for me. I just hesitated a bit, but still said it. It's just that I know what Adrian Scott said is true. This is not a fairy tale. In terms of family background and status, he will definitely be your top choice for marriage. I can't continue to love you when I already know the outcome. One gone. She looked into my eyes. The luckiest thing I have is that my parents do not interfere in my marriage. I can freely choose who I love and marry. I was stunned, a little unable to believe it. For a powerful family like the Liu family, marriage is certainly an important means to expand power. Furthermore, Isabella Reed was the only daughter in the family, yet her family allowed her to freely choose her marriage partner. It seemed she saw the doubt in my eyes, so she said to me, If you don't believe it, I can take you home to meet my father. Don't. I waved my hands in fear. Just coming here and already talking about meeting the parents, it really scared me. At that time, how should I explain? Saying that Isabella Reed and I met each other online doesn't sound believable at all. The matter of meeting parents is still something to talk about later if that day really comes. Isabella Reed said in a low voice, so the promise to take me out to breakfast the other day still counts? It doesn't count. Of course it counts, I just don't know if a young lady like you who has been pampered since childhood will get used to it. Vogan, stop teasing me. She smiled helplessly. I joked a bit then got serious again. But Isabella Reed, you must know that I believe everything you say. I hope you don't lie to me. She suppressed her smile and said firmly, Isabella Reed, let's say for the convenience of having breakfast together tomorrow, I can go to her house tonight. I glanced at her. Your excuse is so clumsy. Next time just say, your cat knows how to do upside down. Isabella Reed was stunned, thinking I misunderstood her, and quickly explained, that's not what I meant. My house has a lot of empty rooms. I laughed and teased, stop it, it's so interesting. I agreed to go to her house. She seemed very surprised. The smile on her face was like the sky after the rain. Your house is so big, from the bedroom to the kitchen, do you have to take a taxi? It's okay, the highway is almost open. Isabella Reed laughed. I stared at her for a moment, then suddenly blamed her, what's wrong? She looked confused. This face of yours is truly a fox's, mesmerizing. Hearing me say that, she seemed very happy and hugged me. Vogon, if you like it, even better. Oh my, young lady, you won't be a lover-crazy person, will you? Although my mouth was not lenient, the moment she held me in my arms, the faint scent of her body still made me flutter for a moment. What about crazy love? Vogon, isn't it said that crazy love is the best dowry for a woman? Do you remember? You learned it, it's commendable. Although when I heard Mike talk, I thought of a reason to break up, but now that Isabella Reed is embracing me, I can't bear to let go. I probably really like her. Isabella Reed's house indeed has a lot of empty rooms. I chose a room I liked best and slept until morning. The room is very spacious, the bed is very comfortable. The next morning when I woke up, I took her out to eat stir-fried soy milk. Suddenly, I realized I forgot to bring my crossbody bag. So I told Isabella Reed to wait for me downstairs. I went back to get my bag, but just as I was rushing back to the car, I heard arguing again. I immediately recognized the man's voice, it was Adrian Scott. I hesitated a bit, still decided to hide in the stairs. Isabella Reed, we are the most perfect couple in the world. No one is more suitable for you than me, whether it's family background, appearance or education, what is wrong with me? We are both businessmen, you know our marriage will bring maximum benefits. As for Ethan Carter, if you give up your reason because of a momentary shock, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Adrian Scott's voice echoed in the underground parking lot. I leaned against the corner of the wall, quietly listening to him speak. Yes, I'm a businessman, I'm best at weighing pros and cons. But Ethan Carter can make me forget my ingrained businessman nature. I thought, in this life I will never meet anyone who loves me more than him. Isabella Reed, you're blinded by love. Please think carefully. Okay, Adrian Scott, you don't have to say anymore. She coldly interrupted Adrian Scott. I opened my phone and texted Isabella Reed, do you remember where my messenger bag is? I searched but couldn't find it. Isabella Reed quickly replied, it looks like you left it on the cabinet in the entryway before you left. Oh yes. I searched forever in the bedroom and living room but didn't expect it to be here. I stood quietly in the dark staircase, idle thoughts running through my head. When the time was almost right, I picked up my bag and went into the garage. Lou like yen, let's go have breakfast, I told her with a smile. Okay, she smiled at me too. I sat in the passenger seat, looking out the window. Both sides of the road are filled with lush green trees. The morning sunlight shines down through the leaves, creating small rays of light. Lou is like yen, she told me, no words, no matter what anyone says to you, or what rumors you hear, You must believe that you will always be my first choice, the first choice that cannot be exchanged for money and benefits. For the past half-month, I've been staying at Liu's house almost like Yen. It was a passionate time, we didn't want to be apart. Let's bake cakes together, watch movies or talk about all kinds of things from heaven and sea until late at night. Just after talking about understanding the universe and time, I suddenly remembered something. I turned my head to look at Lu like Yen. According to regulations, new employees should not leave work so often. Lu like Yen said, the rules are set by me. I think for a moment that's right. I leaned on Liu's shoulder like Yen, my head light, and I smelled the faint scent of her body. Lu like Yen, if one day you don't like me anymore, you must tell me the truth. I felt she was a bit taken aback. She suddenly gently pulled my head down. I didn't have time to react. What was she going to do? A passionate kiss was printed on my lips, warm, soft, and wet, as if lost in an unconscious dream. This forced kiss is despicable but effective. I could only take a deep breath, no longer having the strength to investigate the problem just now. Okay, let's change the subject. Make it sweeter. I looked at her, her lips were still red and shining. That day, I asked you, what do you like about me? You still haven't answered me. I'm speechless, sorry, I can't answer. What I love is not a certain trait on your body, but the person you are. But there are many things about me that you don't know. I still have many shortcomings. I'm sensitive, selfish, changeable in my emotions, and sometimes even a bit cold. I was talking endlessly when her lips once again covered my mouth. Nonsense, I won't love you less because I understand you better. There were many sweet and flowery words, but just this short sentence of hers touched my heart. I gasped and gently touched her tear mole with my right index finger. This mole is very sexy. I like it so much. One evening we were watching a movie. Lu like Yen received a call. She answered the phone, frowning sadly. After hanging up the phone, she squatted in front of me, telling me that she had to go abroad to handle some things, but would return quickly. Oh, okay, I nodded. Sighing, she seemed uneasy and emphasized again, I will definitely come back quickly, at most 10 days. The third day after Lu like Yen left, I received a phone call from Adrian Scott. Adrian Scott calmly told me on the phone, Lu vo knock, I'm about to get engaged to Lu like Yen. Pack your things and leave, be a little more self-aware, don't make a fuss. I listened silently to him and then hung up. These past few days, I still haven't been able to contact Lu like Yen. After hanging up Adrian Scott's phone, I called Lu as Yen again, still unable to connect. She didn't reply to the message I sent. I feel like there's definitely a problem. No matter what, I still needed to hear a direct answer from Lu like Yen, but I still couldn't sleep for several nights in a row. If I say I don't believe Adrian Scott's words at all, it would definitely be false. The words that he and Lu like Yen were about to get engaged kept lingering in my head, unable to dispel. On my way out of work, I was stopped by a strange woman. She was about 40 years old, but very well maintained, looking like she was only 30. She smiled at me, asking if I could talk for a moment. I glanced at her outfit, simple but elegant. The bracelet on her wrist was especially beautiful. She smiled at me very gently, looking courteous and polite, not like a normal person. She invited me to have dinner with her, looking at the high-end restaurant she had booked. I know she prepared in advance. The setting sun shone down on me, bringing gentle warmth, but the moment she introduced herself, I felt like I fell into the abyss. She said she was Adrian Scott's mother. Today I asked you out to tell me that Adrian Scott and Lu like Yen are really about to get engaged. She said, Adrian Scott may have contacted me, but the way he spoke may not have been tactful. She wanted to make an appointment with me to explain everything. It seems like you're still working at Yen Yen's company, right? She took out a document from her book bag and placed it in front of me. Since they're about to get engaged, if you stay, it probably won't be very convenient. This company is not inferior to Yen Yen's company. After you get there, all the benefits will be better. He insinuated that he saw that I still hadn't made a move, so he politely invited me to leave. I looked at the company introduction she placed in front of me, feeling bitter in my heart, and my nose was stinging. Finally, she took out a bank card and gave it to me. At that moment, I laughed out loud with red eyes. I didn't expect that the plot of the TV series would one day happen to me. I don't accept your card. I was determined to wait for Liu's explanation like Yen. I am the person who hates misunderstandings and misses the most, even though at that moment I knew hope was very fragile. Lately, there have been too many unexpected things happening. I was a bit unable to react. 2 days ago, Adrian Scott's mother came to me, saying she wanted to talk privately. Today, a strange man came to see me and wanted to talk privately. Excuse me, are you? Hello Mr. Liu, I am Liu's father like Yen. My name is Charles Reed. I immediately widened my eyes. Turns out my Yen's dad looks like this? Charles Reed also came to see me. Is it because I'm extremely worried? Sitting in front of Charles Reed, I was so nervous that my arms and legs were frantic. Hello uncle, may I ask why you were looking for me today? I must say, the Liu family's faces are really good. Although Charles Reed is old, he is still in great shape. It's even more regretful because Charles Reed also came to find me. The story of Adrian Scott and Liu like Yen getting engaged is definitely true. What a pity, where will I find such a beautiful girlfriend in the future? I sighed regretfully, feeling a little sad but not much. Over the past few days, I have gradually accepted this truth in my heart. Liu Tianxin, the story is like this. We've heard about you and Yen Yen. Yen Yen's mother and I have actually wanted to meet you for a long time, but unfortunately there hasn't been a suitable opportunity yet. Meeting Liu Tianxin today, he is indeed handsome and handsome. I silently asked the question mark in my heart, what is going on? It doesn't look like he wants to chase me away either. Charles Reed went on to say. This time, Yen Yen was on a business trip and attended a secret meeting, so she couldn't contact you. She heard that Adrian Scott and his mother contacted you and was a bit worried. They said inappropriate things to you, so today I asked Mr. Liu to sit outside. For a moment, I was a bit unable to react. So what about engagement and engagement? Charles Reed looked even more bewildered than I did. Are you and Yen Yen about to get engaged? A mixture of surprise and joy appeared on his face. That's great, when was that? Isn't that right? Looks like we're not on the same channel. I hastily explained everything to him. After listening to me, he pondered for a moment. Then, he slowly raised his head and looked at me. No wonder Yen Yen is so worried. She insisted on me coming to see you. I was stunned. When Liu like Yen returned, I was making cookies in the kitchen. The whole room was filled with a burning smell and the pile of coal black matter in the corner of the room was proof of my title as a chef. She didn't even have time to take off her coat and rushed to hug me tightly. This was the first time she hugged me so strongly. I was squeezed so tightly by her that I let out a strange cry. If we don't let go, we can only get married in the underworld. Hearing the voice coming from my throat, she immediately loosened her grip. Sorry, it's okay, it's okay. Pay attention in the next life. I took off my insulated gloves, lowered my head and noticed her expression was very strange. What's wrong? I'm not dead yet. Why are you looking at me with those eyes? I didn't expect Adrian Scott and the others would dare to use this trick. I don't dare to imagine, if you really leave me, what will I do? Looking for me? I thought for a bit, it's not that bad. Your family is so powerful, wouldn't it be easy to find someone as small as me? Having said that, I feel like I'm not suitable to be a romantic male lead. This statement really ruined the atmosphere. Maybe I should say something romantic, like I trust you forever, for example. Willow like Yen placed her head on my chest. I smelled the familiar scent and felt strangely reassured. No words, thank you for trusting me. Sure, I said. They're clumsy lies, how can I believe it? I'm not that stupid. Lu Nuyen smiled softly. That's right, our wordless is of course the smartest. You can trust me like that, I don't know how to express my gratitude. That night, I secretly went to the company to retrieve the resignation letter I had just submitted. By the way, open the packed suitcase and take out all the belongings and put them back in their original place. No problem. Anyway, no one knows the relationship between me and Lu like Yen. My relationship with Lu and Yen is officially public. Liu's parents like Yen both liked me very much, which made me a bit spoiled. Liu's mother Yen cooks very well and invited me over for dinner. Yet he personally went to the kitchen to cook for me. After dinner, we talked and laughed together. The harmonious atmosphere made me a little immersed in this short-lived happiness. I also told this story to my father. After learning that I knew a girlfriend like Lu like Yen, my father became very worried. That girl's conditions are so good, she's unreachable. My father said and then remained silent for a while. What's wrong, Dad? Dad is just a little worried. Does the child have any physical disabilities? I was startled. Dad, why do you say that? My father frowned and said seriously, do you think his eyes are not very good? And yet he can see right through someone like you? My father was so angry that he couldn't speak. Adrian Scott came again, but this time he wasn't looking for Lu like Yen, but me. Since Adrian Scott used the engagement story to trick me, Lu and Yen have been more hostile towards him, especially when Adrian Scott wanted to contact me. He became even more wary and refused Adrian Scott's request without hesitation. But I stopped him. It's okay, neither of our relationships can change now. He wants to see me, I'll go. I also want to know what he wants to tell me. Even though Lu and Yen were very worried, I still persevered. This was the first time I sat alone with Adrian Scott. 2 cups of coffee on the table emitted a passionate aroma, white smoke drifted up. Adrian Scott is still straight to the point as always. I didn't expect I couldn't fool you. I'm also surprised. Actually, you tricked me, I've already arranged my things. He didn't expect Lu like Yen to return in time. Maybe he didn't expect me to say that. Adrian Scott was a little surprised, raised his head and looked at me. Such an important meeting, because of you she left early. Adrian Scott's tone was calm, but I could still hear the wavering in his heart. She has never treated me like that. Even though I grew up with her since childhood, 20 years of love. Because I'm not even a fraction of yours, there was unwillingness and regret in his eyes. He looked up at me, Ethan Carter. I want to hear you tell the truth. When you face me, do you feel self-conscious? An excellent person like you, no matter who stands in front of you, you will feel more or less self-conscious. Let alone an ordinary person like me. But at that time, I decided to leave, not because I felt I was not equal to you. I absolutely will not look down on myself because my family background is not as good as yours. It's because I believe you two are about to get engaged. I don't want to be the third person. As for Isabella Reed, I laugh. Actually, no one is indispensable, but now you two have really come together. Adrian Scott took a sip of coffee and turned his head to look out the window. The class gap between two people is so big, aren't you afraid that you will be too passive in marriage? If the love between us makes me become self-conscious, I will not hesitate to give up this love. I am a selfish person, I will never hurt myself just to get love. A smile gradually appeared on Adrian Scott's face. You are truly special, no wonder Isabella Reed loves you so much. She loves me because I deserve to be loved. The smile on Adrian Scott's face fully blossomed. I have completely lost hope with Isabella Reed, but hopefully we can be friends in the future. Before parting, I said goodbye to him. He suddenly said to me, Ethan Carter, you are a very nice guy. I calmly replied, yes, I think so too. He laughed again. Hope you can keep this courage and confidence forever. I said, thank you. You will also meet better people. I'll be honest, I even feel that Isabella Reed is not worthy of you. Having said that, I heard him laugh out loud for the first time. I honestly called Charles Reed Dad for the first time. I really couldn't help but laugh. Seeing me smile, Charles Reed also smiled. He laughed with joy, but only Isabella Reed knew what I was smiling about. Isabella Reed spoke up, let's give Vogue on a yacht to go out on. Charles Reed said without hesitation, as many as you want. I glanced at Isabella Reed. Isabella Reed bowed her head and smiled. That night, lying in bed, remembering what had happened, I couldn't help but exclaim. The world is magical. When I had an online relationship with Isabella Reed, I said Charles Reed was my father. Now he has truly become my father. Novels don't dare to be written like that. I suddenly remembered that time, Isabella Reed and I were chatting online, sharing our Fu Ni Dai Gioi upper class life. I'm a clown, but the real result is Fu Ni Dai, being jostled on the subway. I was a bit out of breath, holding onto the handrail with one hand, texting him with the other. A strong arm from behind hugged my waist. I still have the ability to laugh. It seems like you're not tired enough yet. I signaled to continue. I said, I fell asleep, but the next second, Isabella Reed had me pinned down under her. Adrian Scott and I have become good brothers. He tells me everything. After getting close, I realized he wasn't such a cold, aggressive person. He treated me very well, almost as well as Isabella Reed. At the restaurant, we sat in a hidden corner. He suddenly took out his phone and showed me a photo. The sky is so beautiful. Looking at the beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl in the photo, my eyes widened. Is it a newly debuted star? Adrian Scott smirked. My new girlfriend. Hearing that, my expression immediately changed. It's normal. Eyes a bit small, eyelids uneven, lips not sexy enough. Mole on face. I retorted once and then pouted. After all, it's only barely worthy of you. Speaking of this topic, Adrian Scott immediately brought up Isabella Reed's name and typed in criticism. From beginning to end, the same conclusion was reached, not worthy of you. That night when I got home, I looked at Isabella Reed. Everywhere I looked, I was hurt by my cold attitude 800 times. Isabella Reed finally spoke up and asked, is Adrian Scott talking bad about me again? I glared and frowned. Do you have an opinion? Isabella Reed moved her lips, and in the end only uttered one sentence, don't dare. As an aside, sunlight shines down through the stained glass of the church. Ethan Carter and Isabella Reed cover their love with a layer of dreaminess. Today is their big day. The whole church was filled with a sweet and warm atmosphere. Ethan Carter stood before the altar, his heart beating fast. He wore a tailored suit, handsome and stylish. His face beamed with a happy smile. His eyes occasionally looked towards the door, waiting for the person who was about to become his wife to appear. Following the melody of the wedding music, Isabella Reed took her father's arm and slowly walked into the church. She wore a white wedding dress, with delicate beads on the skirt, sparkling with every step she took. There was a gentle smile on her face, with only Ethan Carter in her eyes. Their eyes met in the middle of the church. Ethan Carter's heart was filled with emotion. He stepped forward, accepting Isabella Reed's hand from her father. The two of them walked towards the altar together. Isabella Reed's father softly told him, "Hug my daughter, pursue your happiness." The wedding ceremony was simple but solemn when the pastor declared them husband and wife. Ethan Carter looked deeply at Isabella Reed and said softly, "Yin Yin, from now on, whether there are favorable or unfavorable circumstances, you will be my strongest support." Isabella Reed's eyes sparkled. With tears in her eyes, she tightly grasped Ethan Carter's hand and replied, "Vogan, I am willing to walk with you every day from now on, whether it is stormy or sunny." They exchanged rings, then Ethan Carter gently kissed Isabella Reed's forehead, then her lips. This kiss is filled with promise for the future and deep feelings for each other. After the wedding, amid the blessings of relatives and friends, they walked out of the church hand in hand into the sunshine. Their silhouettes are closely related, as their love story is just beginning. In the evening, in a room decorated with fresh flowers and candles, they enjoyed quiet time that belonged to just the two of them. Ethan Carter gently hugged Isabella Reed, whispering in her ear, "My princess, do you agree to spend the rest of your life with me?" Isabella Reed nestled into his arms and softly replied, "I agree, my Vogan. I agree." In this night of love, their love is like warm and bright candlelight, illuminating their future.